Imagine being on a calm flight until suddenly everything turns upside down. An ordinary man sitting next to you reveals a bomb threat and takes control of the plane. It sounds like a scene from a movie, doesn't it? Well, this actually happened in 1971 when a mysterious man, known only as D.B. Cooper, hijacked a plane and simply disappeared with $200,000 in ransom, parachuting into the night. No one has ever discovered what happened to him, and to this day, the crime remains unsolved. But why, after all this time, does the story of D.B. Cooper still fascinate so many people? There's something more to this tale than just a simple hijacking. It taps into our human desire to unravel the unknown, to challenge the impossible, and perhaps to imagine being able to break the rules like Cooper did. If you've ever wondered what drives someone to create such a daring plan, how he managed to vanish without a trace, and why, despite advances in investigative technology, he has never been found, then you're in the right place. Get ready to dive into one of the greatest criminal mysteries in history. On November 24th, 1971, the world witnessed an event that defied logic and airline security. A man, known only as D.B. Cooper, boarded a Northwest Orient Airlines flight from Portland to Seattle like any other passenger. Nothing about his appearance stood out. A simple suit, a black tie, and a restrained smile. But when he handed a note to the flight attendant, the situation quickly changed. What did he write? Just one cold sentence, stating that he had a bomb in his briefcase. The calm flight turned into a dangerous game of negotiation and tension. Cooper, with impressive composure, knew exactly what he wanted. He demanded $200,000 and several parachutes, making it clear he wouldn't hesitate to use his bomb if his demands weren't met. Imagine, at that time, such a large sum was unimaginable, not to mention the psychological terror he unleashed aboard the plane. The panicked crew followed all his orders to the letter. It was a game of nerves. Cooper, calm and composed, requested the plane land in Seattle, where the passengers would disembark safely and the ransom would be delivered. At that moment, the plan seemed simple. But what would he do next? Well, that part left everyone perplexed. With the ransom in hand and parachutes on board, Cooper allowed all the passengers to disembark. An act of generosity amidst the chaos, perhaps. But was part of something much bigger. He demanded that the plane take off again, this time heading to Mexico. Now in control, Cooper demonstrated an impressive knowledge of aeronautics and flight systems. He knew exactly the altitude and speed the plane should maintain, along with other technical details. Was he improvising, or was he someone with military or aviation experience? Many wondered this as he prepared for his daring exit. As the plane headed south, he did something straight out of a movie. He opened the rear door of the plane and, with the parachutes, jumped into the dark, cold night. The cutting winds and the vast forest below didn't seem to intimidate him. And with that, Cooper disappeared, taking the money with him and leaving behind an aura of mystery that lingers to this day. But that wasn't the end of the story. After all, how could he have survived? Where did the money go? And most importantly, who was D.B. Cooper? These questions remain unanswered to this day, leaving an intriguing gap for what came next. As soon as D.B. Cooper took control of the situation, he demonstrated an impressive clarity in his demands. He not only asked for $200,000, but was also extremely specific about how the money should be delivered. In $20 bills. Why? Cooper probably knew that smaller bills would be harder to trace, making it more difficult for authorities to track the ransom later. Besides the money, he demanded for parachutes, raising suspicions. Was he an experienced skydiver, or was he planning to use the parachutes to deceive the authorities? Perhaps he was implying that he would take a hostage with him. These details revealed a man who had clearly thought through every step of his plan. The FBI, at the time, had to act quickly to meet all his demands. And despite the tension, the agents followed Cooper's instructions to the letter. Along with releasing the passengers, he kept the crew on board, which added to the complexity of the situation. Interestingly, Cooper didn't seem nervous. He remained calm, almost as if he were in complete control of every variable. This led many to believe he might have military experience or a background in special operations. The moment he ordered the plane to take off again, bound for Mexico, was crucial. He knew that the flight's altitude and speed needed to be adjusted for his jump to be successful. He demanded that the Boeing 727 fly at a low altitude, keeping the hatches open. Cooper knew that jumping from a high altitude at normal cruising speed would be fatal. Curiously, he also asked for the landing gear to remain down, something only someone with a deep understanding of aviation would request. Once again, the question arose: who exactly was this man? After jumping with the money in hand, Cooper disappeared into a dark and dense night. The wind and cold were relentless, but he didn't hesitate. His plan, it seemed, was being executed exactly as he had envisioned. Now, while the plane continued its empty route, the only certainty the FBI agents and the crew had was that D.B. Cooper had exited common history and entered legend. But the questions only multiplied. How did he plan to survive the fall? And even more intriguingly, how did he intend to escape one of the greatest manhunts in American history? The investigation into the D.B. Cooper case was undoubtedly one of the most extensive and puzzling in U.S. history. As soon as Cooper jumped from a plane, a true manhunt began. The FBI and other police forces mobilized hundreds of agents on land and in the air, scouring a vast forested area where they believed he had landed. However, finding any trace of Cooper was incredibly difficult. To complicate matters further, the region where he jumped was dense and isolated, limiting visibility and making the search difficult. Even with helicopters flying over the area and specialized teams on the ground, the mystery only deepened. No parachutes were found, no body, nothing. Cooper seemed to have vanished. To make matters worse, the weather conditions didn't help. The rain and cold made the search almost impossible at times. Additionally, the timing of the jump, the day before Thanksgiving, meant that many of the usual resources were temporarily unavailable, further delaying the initial search efforts. As a result, the investigation dragged on for months with few concrete leads. In the years that followed, the FBI received countless tips and witness reports, but almost none led to a significant breakthrough. The only major clue emerged in 1980, when a boy playing on a beach along the Columbia River found a series of $20 bills, partially deteriorated, totaling about $5,800. After analysis, the bills were confirmed to be part of the ransom Cooper had taken. This discovery reignited hopes of finding Cooper, or at least understanding what had happened to him. However, it only raised more questions. How did the money end up there? And why hadn't Cooper used all the ransom? Despite all efforts, the FBI never managed to identify D.B. Cooper. Years of interviews with possible suspects, detailed analyses of passenger lists, and an unrelenting attempt to trace the money turned up nothing. Every new lead seemed to bring a new obstacle. Cooper, it appeared, knew exactly how to cover his tracks. Some believed he could not have survived the jump, while others maintained that he had managed to escape and lived somewhere, enjoying his freedom. The mystery, however, was far from being solved, and theories began to emerge from all sides. Over the years, numerous theories arose about D.B. Cooper's true identity. One of the first speculations was that he might have been a former military man, perhaps someone from the Air Force, due to his detailed knowledge of airplanes and flight procedures. After all, he knew the ideal altitude to jump, what to ask for, and how to act with almost surgical precision during the hijacking. Some experts believed he could have been an air cargo loader, someone familiar with the Boeing 727, especially the rear hatch mechanism he used to jump. However, none of this was proven, and the list of suspects only grew. The D.B. Cooper case also inspired a series of copycats. Several hijackers attempted to mimic his style in the following years, but none were as successful. This led to the theory that perhaps one of these copycats was the real Cooper, disguised in new hijackings to throw off authorities. However, These imitators were quickly captured, and none demonstrated the same skill and precision that Cooper had shown in 1971. With each new failed attempt, the mystery of who D.B. Cooper truly was became even more fascinating to the public and investigators alike. One of the most famous suspects was Richard Floyd McCoy, a war veteran who carried out a nearly identical hijacking to Cooper's in 1972. McCoy also demanded ransom, jumped from a plane, and escaped temporarily. He was captured a few days later and convicted. Many believe McCoy was the real Cooper, but differences in profiles and the details of the hijackings suggest otherwise. Another theory pointed to a man named Dwayne Weber, who allegedly confessed to his wife on his deathbed that he was D.B. Cooper. The lack of solid evidence, however, left this claim unconfirmed. Other suspects included bank robbers, former pilots, and even ordinary civilians with mysterious pasts. Despite so many intriguing theories, none provided a definitive answer as to who D.B. Cooper was. What remains clear is that he possessed unusual skills, a personality mixing calmness and audacity, and a meticulously executed plan. He defied logic, law enforcement, and even luck itself, creating one of the greatest criminal enigmas in the United States. But with the case still unsolved, what was left was an investigation full of suspects but without conclusive answers. Even after decades of investigations, the D.B. Cooper case remained unsolved, leaving a trail of questions and an unsettling sense of mystery in the air. In 2016, after 45 years of intense investigation, the FBI officially decided to close the case, classifying it as one of the greatest unsolved criminal mysteries in American history. For many, this decision felt like a defeat for the authorities, who, despite years of searching and hundreds of leads, never came close to capturing or identifying Cooper. The case was archived, but public curiosity, of course, was never buried. One of the main factors fueling fascination with this case is the total absence of conclusive answers. With every new clue, like the money found in Columbia River, the case seemed to come back to life, only to later fall back into oblivion. The truth is, Cooper's fate remains a complete mystery. Did he survive the jump? If so, where did he go? And what happened to the money? Was it used or hidden somewhere where it might eventually be found? All these questions continue to intrigue not only investigators, but also the general public. Despite the official closure of the case, D.B. Cooper's legacy lives on, especially through conspiracy theories and stories that multiply with each new generation. Every now and then, a new suspect, a new theory, a new documentary, or even a new deathbed confession surfaces. These moments reignite the mystery and keep the case alive in popular culture. Cooper has become an almost mythological figure, symbolizing someone who, against all odds, managed to escape unscathed from one of the most daring crimes in modern history. The audacity of the plan and the ability to disappear without a trace perpetuate the enigma. And so, the name D.B. Cooper has cemented itself in the collective imagination as the perfect anti-hero, the criminal who defied the authorities and won. But what remains even more curious is the fact that, despite all the mystery and speculation, the truth was never discovered. How did Cooper manage to escape? Was he alone, or did he have accomplices? Did he fall victim to his own audacity, succumbing to the jump into a cold and inhospitable forest? These are questions that continue to echo, leaving open the possibility that one day the truth may finally come to light, or perhaps remain hidden forever. Now that you know the details behind the D.B. Cooper case, the question remains, what would you do with this knowledge? Could you, in his place, have escaped? Or better yet, what can we learn from someone who defied authority and disappeared without a trace? Sometimes, the most valuable lessons come from where we least expect them. And, like in any mystery, there's always something more behind the curtain. The Cooper case reminds us that not everything can be explained, but that only makes our search for answers even more fascinating. So, what do you think? Was Cooper a criminal genius, or just someone who got lucky? Could he still be alive today, living off the stolen money? Leave your opinion in the comments. And if this story moved you as much as it moved the world, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. There are many more mysteries and curiosities like this one to come, and I guarantee you won't want to miss it.